fall, I will become a professor of strategic communication at Ohio University, and I will begin with a story about Diet Cherry Coke. Very obvious. At the age of 9, my dad told me we were going on a road trip, so we got in the car and we drove to this city known as South Bend, Indiana. I asked, why are we doing this? It was because my cousin, who lived in Buffalo, which I think is like way over there, was going to become a freshman at Notre Dame, and somehow it was our responsibility to help her move in. And my job was to carry an unbelievably large amount of Diet Cherry Coke into her dormitory. And there were two very important things I learned from this experience. One, always ask if you are being paid when you move someone in, because I got $0.00. And number two, I learned that this place is pretty cool. So to have an opportunity to be in this room with these people doing something that hasn't really been done in this country before means the world to me, and so I am grateful to all of you. I'm also grateful to my dad because I want to fast forward to another amazing college experience when I was driving to Ohio University for my freshman year, and my dad was in the car, and this time it was my moment. And as we were driving, my dad said, "Son, we need to talk." When you're 18 years old and you're driving in a car and your dad says, "Son, we need to talk," you have two options. Option one is open the door and hope. Option two is get in some sort of weird fetal position and listen to the wisdom that you are going to get whether you want it or not. To which he said to me, "There are 3 things I want you to invest in when you get to college." Okay. Number 1, he said, you need to invest in a good mattress because I know you won't sleep. Sleep is important. Cool, I do that. Number 2, he said, you need to invest in good shoes because if you're going to do anything in your life, you need to hustle. And I don't want your feet to be sore. And I'm like, that's good, Dad. He said, number 3, invest in an umbrella because you don't know when you need it, but when you need it, you really need it. And today we're like, my dad was really smart. Too often I think of strategic communication in the same lens as I think about the umbrella. We need communication when we really need it. There's a press release. Oh my God, let's go viral, whatever that means. By the way, viral is not a strategy. Just write that down in your notes. Okay, cool. Or all heck is broken loose and we have to have an immediate crisis response because we didn't build a crisis plan and now all the communicators are brought into the space. What I want this presentation to be is very much in the weeds. How do we build process, people, bells, and whistles to use communication to make the world a better place? So in order to do that, I'm going to ask for your help on a couple of fronts. There are pens. Those are really nice pens, by the way. Man, good pens. There's paper. I want us to go Dwight Schrute, Dunder Mifflin. I want you to be able to write things down because, again, there is no silver bullet, or I guess I should say golden bullet because there's a big dome over there. There's no magic answer. If I had the magic answer, I'd have already said something. I want you to be able to come up with custom solutions. Let's make this human. Let's make this personal. Let's also have some fun because we're talking about some serious stuff. So I need your help for this. Are you open to being able to do that? So some of you are like, no, I'm leaving right now. It's okay. It's fine. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the TLDR version. So the most important thing I'm going to tell you, I hope you will use that really nice pen to write it down. Storytelling drives technology. Storytelling drives technology. I will walk to the other side of the room for dramatic effect. It's that important. Storytelling drives technology. Because if the story doesn't resonate, and so often we are chasing the new bell, the new whistle, that we lose sight of the larger picture. I've had the joy of presenting across the country for 15 years. I did a presentation on Google, was it Google Plus? And how I was going to change strategic communication. Oh, it didn't. Remember Vine? Ugh. Tout? The World Wrestling Federation bought Tout, and it failed. How does that happen? It happens very easily. Storytelling drives technology. And so part of this process is how we can all come together in the same sandbox, be ethically responsible with our content, and be able to share the story in a way that people are actually going to consume it. So to start, let's logically think about JFK. Sure, why not? JFK brought this up. He's smarter than me. I love this slide. Because when we think about the notion of crisis, and many people, the initial thought to AI is crisis. Fair. There's two levels of crisis. One is the danger. I think it's important to talk about the danger. I think we've heard about the danger, but I also want to think about the opportunity. So I want to start with one very simple process. These 5 things that I'm going to go over. For those of you, don't you love it at a conference when you just grab your phone and take the picture? This is one of those I would take the picture slides. These are the 5 things I want you to think about. If only there were enough monitors where you could actually take the picture. I think we'll be able to pull this off, I hope. These are the 5 things I want to talk about. I want to talk about planning. Planning's good. I want to talk about production. Production's easy. I want to talk about personalization. Tricky. We'll talk about promotion. Where are our calm people? People who work in scientific communication, the writers, the editors, please use the Oxford comma folks. I want to talk about the promotion of it. And then we'll talk about performance. Because how do we know what winning and losing looks like? So first, I want to show you something that makes me, this is planning. This is the danger on the JFK slide. This is something known as the conversation prism. Allegedly, these are all of the communication vessels we are supposed to use to reach an unbelievably diverse audience in 2024. Just those. That's it. Now that sound you hear from scientific communicators might be them lighting their hair on fire because that's impossible and we don't have a cloning session set up for the webinar or the conference or anything else. You cannot do this as a human being. You can't. So how do we make it better? How do we not be my cat Noah trying to chase its tail? Noah's not a very smart cat. I want you to be smarter. So what I want to think about here is how can we look at AI in the concept of building the story and being able to use the story as the center of our space to then go out and try to share with as many diverse audiences as possible. Will you hit all of them? No! Will you hit the important ones? Yes. Here's what I also want to talk about. And thank goodness we had this in the morning keynote because I think this is incredibly important for both scientists and communicators and anyone in between. And thank goodness most of you are sitting down. Because did you know on the internet, there are people who aren't nice? Seriously, there are trolls on the internet. And it used to be that these Muppet wannabes would get on their keyboards and they type, oh, boo, bah, boo, whatever, right? Well, now with AI, those trolls can work at light speed. They can create 1,500-word posts in minutes. They can throw reviews anywhere in seconds. They are fast. And it is not a matter of if, but a matter of how soon that tsunami ends up somewhere near your space. Fitting as part of a hurricane rolls through today. So when I think about the notion of listening and generating an AI policy, the content creation is lovely, but it has to be a two-way street. The opportunity is how do we as an organization better listen to constituents, listen to all of the audiences we mentioned in the morning keynote and yesterday evening, and be able to react and adapt to what's happening. That's an amazing opportunity that we didn't have years ago that we have now. So how do we start? And the good news is, where are folks affiliated with Notre Dame? Who is affiliated with Notre Dame? Great for you all. I'm so happy that you're here and you're in a delightful place. So you should feel great about yourselves for a few seconds. Because the first part of the process that we have to think through is making sure that there is a cross-functional, Dwight Schrute cross-functional team that can help with guiding your process. Because there will be lawyers, there are finance implications, there are accounting information situations, there are grant implications, there are implications everywhere. Their voice is going to be important. And I want to be able to make sure that as things develop, I can quickly reach out to them. This is step one of crisis communication. Build the team. I would argue, do the same. Or else we go down Schitt's Creek. You might see a theme developing. Step two. This is tough. This is tough for me. Let me stress this is tough for me. This slide is tough. This slide for our communicators and our scientists is tricky because what we have to do is we have to be the ones who lead. We have to be the ones who coach people up. And this slide is tough for me because number one, Nick Saban, Notre Dame people are like, boo this slide, right? Number two, Bill Belichick destroyed my Pittsburgh Steelers 742 times. He also convinced Charlie Weiss to take the Notre Dame job. So I know this is a tough thing. But the point he brings up, this is good. It pains me to say this. It pains me to talk about the idea of where victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious. How many of you have ever had a list for anything? You've all had a list. How many times has something not on that list shown up and you're like, oh, that's it. People always want me in crisis communication to build a list of what could go wrong. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I refuse. Because the first time something on that list doesn't appear in a crisis, you're done. You're my cat chasing its tail. You have to be the leaders on this. And this is where this is a struggle. Because how many communicators have heard, you're a communications person, I'm a communicator, you're a social media expert, I use the TikTok, and you're like, oh no, oh no. No, it's the TikTok. It is. I've been in the meeting, it's the TikTok. Okay. You've got to be the ones to be able to lead people who don't fully understand the scope and scale of the situation. You have to be the ones who are the connective tissue to connect the dots. We talk about creating the environment and the culture. That's a really important power. Yes, you can do. Now it is time for things that you need to be able to teach. So in order to do this, I'm going to do something very strange. I'm going to ask all of you, after I do a 3, 2, 1 countdown, to just boo. Just boo. Like boo. And not like boo, like just boo. Can we do this? All right, 3, 2, 1. So weird to ask to be booed. But many of the things that feel obvious to us, citation bias, bad data, are likely not obvious to a cross-functional team of people trying to create a responsible policy. Finance people may not understand it. Accounting people may not understand it. Legal people might be utterly mortified. We have to understand that right now, if good information doesn't go into the system, what are we going to get? What are we going to get? And last night we heard about just random, crazy, spaced out stuff that can happen. We have to be able to create that balance. Okay? What else do we have to do? We're going to play a game called Reverse Jargon. How many of you have that sheet of paper with all of those amazing photos and we're trying to play that game? So this is what I did last night. I went to my daughter Leah. She is 14. She is outrageously competitive. I kind of love that. And I texted her a photo of that, and we are doing a Farkas family game. Whoever gets the most of these right gets to pick where we go to dinner. And I showed her this, and as I did the picture first, and then I'm typing everything in, and my daughter, she's 14 in August, this is her response: dude, what the flopper? Okay. She didn't understand what was going on. She didn't understand what was happening. And when I work with scientists, when I work with researchers, this is the biggest challenge we have, is that when we get in a room like this, what feels so obvious to us is outrageously not obvious to others. And while they will not go, dude, what the flopper, to you, they're thinking about it in a different way. So as I'm thinking about what makes me get up and want to go to work every single day, when I am thinking about my passion project that's going to make the world a better place, when I work with scientific communicators, these are games that I play. In full disclosure, I used to do improv. I like games. Think of the complicated concept. And by the way, I will freely admit, I've got a master's degree, I'm a professor at a university, and I read some of those terms on the sheet, and I'm like, pick C, I don't know, 7, nothing. How do you explain it to a 7-year-old? 70, right? Different, but it can spark ideas. How do you explain it to Leah at 14, soon to be, going on 30? And here's the key factor to me, and I want to do, this is strange, because here I am with a bunch of really smart scientists, and I'm going to talk about some brain science. We'll see how this goes. Explain it to someone multitasking. How do you explain it to somebody who's on their phone and not making eye contact with you? And you might say, that never happens. To which I will say, how many of you have ever been on Zoom? And you can see, you know this, like you know who's looking at you, and then you know somebody who's kind of got their glance over the other way, and it's like, are they looking at fantasy football? Like, what are they? They're not there. They're not there. How many of you have ever taught a class in front of other humans? Those people in the back with their computers on aren't looking at your PowerPoint, sir. No disrespect. Here's why. If I am great at what I do, if I'm amazing, I have to say something 3 times before somebody hears it for the first time. Chances are it's 8 to 11 if I'm okay. Here's where it gets tricky. My daughter, Leah, has ADHD. My son, William, has ADHD. Guess what? Dad has ADHD. Yay, genetics. And so as we were going to Nationwide Children's Hospital to learn how to manage this, the physician said that there are some circumstances where a kiddo's brain is just so different, not better, not worse, different, that you have to say something 100 times for them to hear it for the first time. That explains 2 very important things. Number 1, why my dishwasher is never unloaded. Seriously, I reminded him this morning, do the dish, okay. Number 2, do me a favor. Let's be very honest. Again, no judgment, it's all good. Look around at how many people, and I'm in the same boat, how many people have your phones on the table right now? It's okay, because I do it too. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When you look at someone's brain when they're on their phones, and you compare it to someone's brain when they're on ADHD, it looks the same. So you may not have a medical diagnosis of ADHD, but when you are scrolling through the TikTok, your brain's acting the same way. So that amazingly awesome information that you might really care about for whatever reason will go in one ear, out the other, never to be remembered again. 89% of what we hear every day goes in one ear, out the other. My challenge is creating an environment so you remember it and hopefully you like it. And that involves precision with language and taking what seems obvious to you and maybe honing it differently to reach a diverse audience. So here's where I pause and you take a picture. Because I, for some reason, had free time and thought, what better way to spend an hour of my time than go through the code of ethics of a dozen different communication organizations and see what guiding principles they have as part of their decision-making process. And after my eyes glazed over, perhaps a nap, maybe some Starbucks, this is the list that I was able to compile. And is it comprehensive? No. Do I want to use a 4-point font? No. It's a starting point. But what you have to be able to do is you're creating the policy, and then I promise I will get to more brass tacks in a little bit, is you have to determine which 2 or 3 of those drive the bus. And for every single organization, for departments within a university, those guiding principles can be different. And let me stress, not better, not worse, but different. So I've got to be able to figure this out. And I've got to be able to have that conversation with people so that we're all moving in the same direction. Here's what else I need to do. And I absolutely loved the opening exercise that we had, where we had a chance to talk with people for a couple of minutes